everybody. Welcome to Real and Redeemed. If it's your first time here, you're totally cool for tuning in. And if you're a return, even better. So, here we are on Thursday. And, we're going to talk today a little bit about pain. Not so much physical pain. We're going to talk about more emotional pain. It's a very funny thing for me. I think I've said it before on this podcast that my solution is praise and worship. Praise and worship fixes me in a good way. But anyways, so Heather's going to have a couple minutes here. But so loving Jesus and trying to live on that plane, okay, and having pain here on this earth can be something. And I think the reason it can be something is maybe because we're allowed to grieve. And that is really important to say. And grief time for situations and grief time for certain things, people or animals or whatever it is, that's individualized. But when you share, the Bible says we are to bear each other's burdens, okay? And that is what we're supposed to do. So, and I think people I know I get sick of crying. I get sick of crying and I want not to cry when actually tears have been analyzed and they're poison. They're not good. They rid you of what you need to be rid of. Mm-hmm. That's part of crying. So it's a very good thing. And other than it exhausting you and wearing you out, you feel better afterwards. Mm-hmm. You do. Okay. Sharing is the same thing. We are here on earth, so therefore we are going to have pain, and there's all kinds of different emotional pain. People can do something to you. You can have a loss. You can have an incident within family with your children or your brothers or sisters or parents or whatever, and I think it is difficult for us to be here and feel that and be with Jesus. But we can be here and we can feel it and we can still look up. Okay, so that is really important because sometimes, and I think, if you believe in God and you believe that Jesus walked the earth, we have hope. We have hope. And that makes things a little bit easier, I think, for us because we know outcomes in the big picture, and I do think there's animals in heaven. Okay, I just am saying that. I'm darn quite sure. Heather, she may or may not, but our Great Dane that died before the one that we have now, and I love everyone more than I've ever loved the last one, which I just love them, okay? But I slept on the floor with her. She was dead, She weighed a lot. We had to rent a backhoe, to bury her. She weighed a lot, but I grieved. Oh, my God. Like it was my kid or something, and that's okay. That's okay, because I love me some dogs. Almost better than most people. You want to know the truth? I love animals just as good as people, probably better for the most part. So, anyways, praise and worship, the word, and we cannot know the promises of God if we're not in the word, but praise and worship. But the Bible says you praise through the disasters. You praise all the time. And I don't know about you, you can speak for yourself, but worship music, singing, praising God, even praising God for, like with my dog, I praised God that I even had the dog and knew the dog. That's
Yeah.
all that time. When my mom died, I wanted to blow my head off. But, oh God, look at those wrinkles when I raised. That's horrible. Okay, well, I'm old. That's okay. All right, that was
Thank
a
God
diversion.
for the beautiful life you've lived for all these years.
Yeah, for sure. I deserve my
Mhm.
wrinkles. But
You earned
anyways,
'em.
my mom, was my best buddy, best buddy. And thank God I even knew her, and I had that time with her. So even though that loss was there and it was monumental, and I didn't even know how I was going to live without her. Of course, you can see I'm quite alive. But
I've always, when my mom died, I likened it to like literally losing an arm and then trying to figure out how you're supposed to live.
function, how do I
How,
function?
yes, how do I live? How do I function without
Yeah.
this piece of me?
Yeah.
That I really need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm feeling today. Obviously, this isn't a loss like that, but
It is a big loss.
it's a huge loss. Okay, I'm gonna say it, and I'm not gonna. Okay, maybe I am. Since you're always so worried about me processing, just know like you're here for part of this process. Although it's been an all day long situation, but about 9:30 this morning, I attempted to load my horse onto the trailer to take him to Purdue, probably to have a surgery. And he got 2 legs on the trailer, and his whole body started shaking. And then he pulled himself back out, and he went down. And he died in my arms about 2 minutes later, and there was nothing we could do. So from about 9:30 this morning until, I don't know, like a half an hour, 45 minutes ago probably, because I took like the fastest shower. But I laid in my barn lot, and I held him, and I cried, and I prayed, and I worshiped, and I turned on my worship music. And I took a very emotional journey for several hours, and I brushed his hair, and I braided lots of pieces of the mane, and I braided his tail, and then I cut all the braids off to keep. And this was really just my whole day in a cycle. Sometimes I would just sit and worship. Sometimes I would just sit and cry. Sometimes, I was talking to him while I was braiding. And, a couple times some people came and went out of the barn lot. But that was my day. And this is still very
raw.
Everything that I do at River Ride Mini Ranch has been because of this horse, for this horse, with this horse. And I cannot imagine what this ranch will be like, or what I'm supposed to do without him there. But I trust God, and I love him, and I believe him, and I know that whatever he has planned next for the ranch and for me. Wilbur doesn't get to go. And I don't like it. But he knows what we all need. So, like, I'm not going to fight and argue with God, and I can't undo it. There's nothing that I can do to undo what has happened. But I'm not seeking distractions and trying to avoid how I feel. And that's something that I used to do. I spent years running from my feelings. When my mom died, I got as strung out as anybody could be. Even, just all the things, drugs, men, whatever, and the closer I get to the Lord and the longer I walk with him, the more I realize I have to sit with these feelings. A couple things that came to my mind today. So much has been between these ears today. But, one, if you want to test the strength of the roots, you have to shake the tree. And the other thing, wow, it was good. I don't know where it went, but it was really good. And it'll come back around, and when it does, I will
say it.
Oh, wait, here it is. Here we go. This is because Doug said that he wished he could take my pain away, and instantly I knew, like, you can't. But I mean, I wouldn't want you to. Like, you can't take my pain, but you also will not be able to take my anointing, because I am being crushed and pressed, and I know that the outcome of this is going to be a new wine, a greater oil. And I don't want to give that up, because I know that's needed.
It's a new season.
It is a new season. And when we leave things behind in our old seasons, as much as it hurts, there's always a reason. Do we get to know all the time? No. And that's okay.
Yeah, we don't have to know.
We don't have to know to trust God.
Right.
We don't have to know to go serve him.
We don't have to understand. That's what we want a lot of times. I don't understand. Well, it's beyond us. It's beyond us. But what I do know is that's the end result of everything on this earth, so.
And I know that horse did so much for me, and not just me, but for other people. You guys can't see it, but right now our friend Debbie is sitting behind the camera, and she is also crying because Debbie spent a lot of time with that horse too. And he helped a lot of women through some things, and he helped a lot of kids through some things. And he's made a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. And that was a beautiful thing that I got to be a part of. So yes, I'm sad and my heart hurts so much. But I am so blessed, like you said, just to have been able to know them and to spend time with them and to have all of those experiences and, the great adventures that he took me on that I never would have done if I hadn't loved him so much. So I'm grateful, and that's where I want.
You're not, my thing when I got straight, it was so strange to be present in every situation, because this would have been an excuse to be hog wild in a ditch. Okay. And it's not.
Yeah.
And even though it feels really bad, I think that's the hope that we have as loving Jesus is we know that everything has a purpose, and we don't have to understand, and that seasons change, and the purpose in this is going to be growth and goodness. You know, when my mom died, this is crazy. People handle things like so differently. But she was at the funeral home, right? And there, I'm like, I called the funeral home and I'm like, is my mom there? And he's like, and they knew me because some of my patients, I'd been to a lot of funerals there for my patients. So he's like, yeah, Kim, she's here. And I said, well, okay, can I come and see her? And he's like, well, Kim, we haven't done anything with her. And I said, well, I don't care. Can I come and see her? And he's like, yeah. So I went there and he gave me a chair and I sat there. Next day, I went again. So I'll make a long story short. The third day, the kids call me. They're like, Mom, where are you at? And I say, I'm visiting with Grandma. And they're like, what? Like you're sitting with her at the funeral home? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, we're coming. So then there were 4 chairs there. On day 7, which I'm not even thinking, he says, Kim, we are approaching the legal time. There's a time for things to be buried, and we're there. You can't keep coming and visiting your mother here. We have to bury her. And I'm like, okay. And we did. But that I did that, though, all straight. I don't think I was really together.
Right.
But I did not drink and drug and lay down and quick fix all over the United States, you know.
That was me.
And I'm so grateful because you have to deal. You can cover it all up now and you'll deal later, but you're going to deal.
Oh, yeah. And I did. When I finally got clean, I had to re-grieve over my mom.
Yes.
All over again.
Yes.
You know, and I'm grateful to be where I am today, that I don't have to walk through that process. But you made such a good point. I love that you did that for 7 days. Most people don't. And, you know, when Job lost all of his kids, all of his livestock, all the stuff that happened, and he sat for 7 straight days, and his friends came and they just sat in his grief with him. I mean, later they said stupid stuff, but they didn't, for 7 straight days. And I don't think, you know, like his friends, they all get this bad rap, but can I just give them credit for the fact that they did sit there silently for 7 days and they just let him grieve and let him take his time, and they waited until he was ready,
which is
to
a
start
point.
speaking. Yeah, that's
You
what I'm
don't
saying.
need to say stuff.
All the things.
Just got to be there.
Yeah.
Just be there.
Yeah.
Be there.
Yeah. But be
it
there
sounds
and
so
take the
stupid
time.
to say, and this is the word, and trust me, I've said it. Oh, I'm sorry. When people said that to me when my mom died, I wanted to punch them in their face.
Yeah.
Okay, but they were just being kind. And
Right.
it's like it's really weird. You don't even know what to say. But today, I pray for the other person for strength, because that's what you need, strength, and for them to know that God is holding them. You know, you ain't by yourself. God is holding you.
No, God has been so present all day long. And that's the other thing.
Yep.
When you're going through things and you're grieving, that's probably when he's the closest. You know, I mean, he's just
Do you have some peace
comforting
in there
you. Peace.
on top of all this
Absolutely.
pain?
Yes,
Me too.
absolutely.
Me too.
Peace. And just like him speaking into me. And literally, you know how, like, if you listen to music on YouTube, you can pull up like one song, you know, and then it'll just automatically throw it into a playlist. But you have no choice in what's playing next, you know? And sometimes God just takes over my playlist. I know he does, you know? And today was one of those days. And I mean, when I tell you, like, I went on this emotional journey today, like the right songs played at just the right times. And when they're, you know,
That's Jesus.
when I got stuck, when I was cutting, like I braided his mane into, like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 different little skinny braids to cut off. And it was just kind of like with every one I cut, it was a whole different you know, and then when I got stuck after just, you know, with a couple braids left and, you know, the songs it was just incredible. And even like the one that I didn't want to cut the most was his tail. That's always the one everybody talks about, you know, that all the best horses go to heaven with no tails. And I knew I was cutting off those little pieces of mane, probably for other people. You know, I knew other people would want a piece of the mane, but the tail was for me. And I knew once I cut it, like that was the end. I had to get up, I had to walk away. You know, I had to let Doug go get him and move him, and I didn't want to cut that tail. But God was with me, and I mean, literally, even then, like the songs that were playing, and I mean, just all day long, and God just wrapped me in his arms all day, and it was beautiful. And I'm so grateful to just have been in the presence of the Lord, to have, you know, been able to take my grief and sit in the Holy of Holies, and for him to comfort me personally.
And there's something, this sounds really weird. Okay, so I'm seriously afraid my son is going to die, okay, and he's in crazy land right now. But, and how can you be void of sleep and I am still peaceful? I've done all my crying. I'm kind of through that. I mean, I didn't experience a death. There's things going on, but throughout the whole thing, I have peace. None of it feels good, but there is still a peace. And that comes from God. You know, I never had that before. I was just crazy, and I'm feeling all of that horribleness and acting crazy. So now I can feel all of that, but have the peace too. And I love it. This is memorable. Like me sitting with my mom, that's all weirdness and stuff. But that whole time, I've got that, okay? You have today. The memory is such a wonderful, wonderful thing. So you have that. You know, we have all the past events. We have that event. And it's just a blessing, even though it's like this, but it's still a blessing, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the weirdest thing. And if you don't know the Lord, how do you even understand that?
How do you live through these things?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. I don't even know how it's livable, because it's crazy when you know the Lord.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I always feel so good because I knew what I would have done in the past. Like your situation would have been a reason for me. We're friends. And now, so I'm going to go do this over here because my friend is hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's any excuse.
Right.
Anything.
Right. And that's just not necessary.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to look for excuses, you know, to
What do
give
I
our
say?
flesh what it wanted.
Yes.
But now, I mean, we use these moments to seek the presence of God, to seek entrance behind the veil. You know, like, let me into the Holy of Holies. I need in right now.
Yeah.
That's how.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how it is.
and I know, like this is just today. You know, like I'm just at the beginning of this, and you know, it's all the little things that. Yeah, I still have a mess to clean up at the barn, and I you know, like his hair is probably still lingering in a hairbrush, and
It's ongoing.
when I go work with clients again, and you know, as God unfolds this new season at the ranch and the things, and this is just crazy because God just gave me like the biggest revelation over the whole ranch, and he's shown me some really amazing, beautiful things, and it just blows my mind that Wilbur isn't a part of that. He doesn't get to go into whatever we're supposed to do because it just doesn't make any like sense in my mind. Like, how am I supposed to do any of this without him? And I know God only has my best interest at heart and the good of the kingdom, and he just does beautiful things. And I just can't even imagine, like, because you know, like, you have to, the pain that you feel, he'll give you all that back in joy. You know, so I can't, it's going to be so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to experience it and walk in it, and
Just have to ride the roller coaster.
yeah, riding this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the only thing I love about time. That is the only, I remember when Mom died, I had meltdowns all the time. Worked in Ohio, driving to Indiana. I would crash and sob all the way home. Well, originally I was doing that every day, and then it was every other day. And then it was, it just spanned out, to where I wondered how I had this greatest mom, okay? And I always I wanted to be like my mom because she was the most amazing person, but I never could muster up to that, Actually, I was everything for some part of my life that my mom, didn't like. She loved me, but she didn't like how I was. But, so then Mom was gone, and then there's me. Okay, there's me. The person I went to if I needed money, gone. The person that all I had to do was tell her my problem, and she'd be like, "It's okay, baby. Everything's going to be fine." That was healing. So, but you know what I learned through that? I learned how God heals me, what to do, the things we're talking about, walking through it, having faith to know I'm going to live.
Yeah.
I'm going to live through this. And so now I try to prepare my kids. You live for your children. Your children and the things around you, you can live. And my kids, of course, oh no, we're not going to be able to live with that. Yes, you will. You live for your children. And by the time that happens, hopefully you know Jesus, and you have that hope, and you have that ability to still love God and not. I know people whose lives are ruined. They have lost a child. They blamed it on God. And for 20 years, they have hated many, many things. And that makes my heart so sad, because 20 years of carrying hate, a day of carrying hate, is incredibly burdensome. And it's just, it's unhealthy, and it kills you. I don't want to hate.
Yeah.
I don't want to hate, and I don't want to blame.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. So, yeah, you splashed the Bible.
Look, my Bible is coffee stained, tear stained. There's probably some other stuff that's gotten in there for sure. That's all right. Just know that it gets used. Okay.
So, is anything else on your agenda? It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Or it can be.
Just know, like, like, really, see, like, I'm not ready to share everything yet. I'm not. But just
Don't
know
need to.
that God has just shown me some really beautiful things that will be coming. And
isn't that funny? My first grandchild was born immediately after my mom was taken. And you've already had revelations about the ranch before today. And then this happens.
Yes,
So
it's crazy. And
it
we
is.
actually, like,
It
I'm
is.
going to be doing a thing on
It is.
here in a couple days that is going to be the most beautiful. It's not only my story to share, and I don't want to get ahead of anything, but definitely I think I will have a very beautiful story to share with you later. The other thing was just like, I have to go live my life. I can't stop. I can't.
You have to show up.
Like tiny little things, I could reschedule, but God is really counting on me to be present and to let him use me here in a couple days. And I know that the enemy would love for me to get all up in my pain and want to push everything back and to say, wait, I can't do this right now. So that's just another part of that grief, is that you have to carry it with you, but you have to go live your life, you know, and I'm excited about it.
Right, you can't lay down.
Mhm.
I mean, you got to put one foot in front of the other, no matter how slow it is.
Mhm.
You know, you got to keep doing the work.
Yeah. Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. So we have some things coming up, and I can't wait to be able to share those things, but you know, I don't want to get ahead of anything. So there's that.
So that's what we got for tonight, okay?
Yeah.
Praise him through the
Yeah.
grief.
Yeah.
It's okay to grieve.
Take the time and as much time
Yes.
as you need.
Don't numb yourself up with stuff.
Mm-mm.
Be there,
Mhm.
even if it's silent.
Mhm.
Be there. Just let him know that you're there,
Mhm.
but you're never alone. Jesus is right there. Every single second you're not alone. So, you know, we can't get into that I'm alone
Mhm.
thing. No, we're
Girl,
never
we
alone.
made some really good points.
It was a good conversation.
Yeah.
But we're done.